in style someday. Old dream maker.
Get the water, nigga! It's going down! Ah, the motherfucking bootleg fireworks shit!
Welcome you lovely lot to my second edition in the Element series. I'm going to call it the Element series. I need to get out more, I think, because I'm doing water this week and I'm going to be doing the top 5. I hope you guys enjoy this. So we're starting with Absu. You might know this game from the channel. I'm very keen on it. I love the water physics in the game. The surface water isn't featuring that much in it. It's all about underneath. It reminds me quite a lot of a PC game, old PC game called Descent, with its 360 degree sort of movement model. And I think what Giant Squid have done with this is play on light really well. Look at the way those rays come through and actually hit things underneath the water. They've captured that incredibly. The slow movement of the weeds and the way that you travel with the other fish and the detail in the other fish, and you can hear that orchestral soundtrack. The game completely envelops you. It's definitely worth being on this list. Absu.
Get the water, nigga! It's going down! Ah, the motherfucking bootleg fireworks shit!
Next up on a course, it's going to have to be something from the Bioshock series, and I went with Bioshock 2. I've seemed to find the water a bit more visceral in this game than in the previous game, and obviously Infinite doesn't have a lot in it, but it's dripping off everything, you know. And for a previous generation game, and I distinctly remember with Bioshock 1, some of the water physics in that game were well ahead of its time. You know, that game is really old. This handles underwater particularly well. You don't see that much of that in Bioshock 1, but I really love the entry animation with the blurring effect on your helmet and visor, etc. But as I say, water is everywhere. I love the fact that the whole of Rapture is getting sort of pulled apart by it all the time. It's a great idea. You can literally see it coming out of the walls and the floor. It's almost like a disease that's killing this once pristine, amazing city. Added points for the water being used in combat with this game, so you need to always be looking at your feet to see whether or not you're in some, because electricity passes through it a lot quicker. That's definitely a cool game changing aspect to it. And of course you've got some puddles that are petroleum ridden. I don't know if this is petrol and water or just fuel, but look at the colours in that. One of the things I caught myself doing when making this video was standing underneath things and listening to that water on tin noise that you're getting. That's a really great attention to detail. Going up to windows and looking through them to see other water behind them, absolutely brilliant. Bioshock well deserves to be on this list.
From the rest of Rapture for some time, but not cut off from splicing. Don't let your guard down.
Get the water, nigga! It's going down! Ah, the motherfucking bootleg fireworks shit!
So things are hotting up now, and it's Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It's number 3 on the list, and in my eyes it's one of the strongest Assassin's Creed's recent ones. I loved 1, things dipped a bit, but Black Flag came out and was just like pow, wow, it was awesome. It was awesome because of how much attention to detail they paid on the water in this game. Obviously you're on a ship quite a lot, but I mean the colours, those turquoises, that tropicalness that they created within the colour palette for the water itself is breathtaking. I've bought it twice and put it onto the PlayStation 4 a couple of months ago, and I straight away noticed the detail in that surface water that was coming through. Cosmetically, this is one of the best seas I've witnessed in a game going forward. I mean, look at the way the sun hits the surfaces there, and look at the waves within waves and how it changes under the lunar light. They really went to town on making sure this sea looked good. It also has its own personality when storms kick off, etc.
All sails! He'll take it! More sail! Give me more sail!
As it's a third person, I want to see like a dripping wet outfit when coming out of the water. Assassin's Creed definitely delivers on that front with this. Reflections are another big thing for me with this list, and they haven't held back with that either. One of the things to remember is the diving bell. I opened that up on the Xbox 360 but not on this version, so I didn't get any footage of that. It does also have some good underwater mechanics. I think what takes the biscuit and actually really makes this game shine is these rainbows that I noticed in the waterfalls inland. I mean, how many games do you know do that? That's pretty astounding. So Assassin's Creed Black Flag, number 3 on the list. The next two I had to sit down for a while with this one, so buckle up.
Get the water, nigga! It's going down! Ah, the motherfucking bootleg fireworks shit!
So number 2 is GTA 5, and this wasn't an easy decision, and this game gets a lot right with its water, a hell of a lot right with its water, especially with its ocean and with some of its smaller, more granular water physics that I'll show in a second. Straight off, it's that beach, isn't it, and that shoreline and those waves and how they interact with the sun, and some of the sunsets against that ocean are absolutely phenomenal. Also, the way the vehicles interact with the waves is never a dull moment, but I noticed how the fire hydrants, when you hit them, look at that pavement, it's got a bit of reflection on it from the water landing there. And of course, and I've gone on about this before, it's the way that you can go into the water and have half of your clothing, or the amount of clothing that got moist affected visually by the water level. That is pretty awesome, and such a lovely attention to detail. I love the guys for doing it. The textures on the ocean itself are not that amazing, but it does have this aliveness to it. It's always moving, it's never flat. The vehicles interact with the bumps and troughs that the waves give off. And one of the things I noticed recently was that there's a lot underneath the surface here. The submarine missions and playing with the submarines, pretty damn awesome. Now this is some footage of a bay. I want you to look at the way the waves are coming in there in the distance. This is a normal day, and I flipped the weather and just look at how much difference there is in those waves, and look what they're doing to the vehicles coming up to the shoreline there. This also affects the way the boats react. They go higher, the waves are more angry. Awesome. But as we all know, it's those reflections on the road with those neon lights, the way that every single raindrop is catered for there, and those puddles. This was the first thing I noticed when I put GTA on my PS4 as opposed to the old generation system.
Get the water, nigga! It's going down! Ah, the motherfucking bootleg fireworks shit!
He's done it again! Unsubscribe. He's dragged us through a whole list video and gone with the damn Witcher again. Does he work for CD Projekt Red? Are they paying him? What is Oscar Cooper doing with his life? Well, the answer is spending far too much time looking at this game, I think, and it did win for some very, very good reasons, and it wasn't until I went through it with a fine-tooth comb that I actually saw how incredible the water physics are in shallow and deep water, underneath the water, anything, you name it. Just look at the way it's coming away from the player here, and how it dissipates and layers off and trickles out. You didn't see this on Assassin's Creed. You sure as hell didn't see this on Grand Theft Auto. CD Projekt Red spent a hell of a lot of time making sure this looked good, and wow, did it pay off. The boat, as it's a larger mass in the water, you can see gives off larger sort of bows of this ripple effect, and they sort of pull away for a longer period of time out the back of the vehicle itself. I mean, I picked a nice evening scene here so you can see the contrast in the sky and how fantastic it looks. Out to sea, things get a bit more lively. I've got some footage here where the wind's up a bit and there's some undulation in the waves themselves, and you've got a bit of spray coming up here. I like the idea that the sea or larger bodies of water have a lot more going on in them than the actual rivers in the game itself. This is a really cool point, and it's how cool the armor goes when it's wet and it's shininess, etc. Underwater, this game fares up extremely well also. I love looking up through the water, up at the sky, and you've also got some really cool underwater combat in the game. That's pretty damn strong. It's ranged, it's tense, there's a variety of enemies that come at you under the water. So yeah, sorry about the whole dicks out for the Witcher thing, but guys, come on, if you haven't got into this game yet, you're gonna have to get into it. I think I'm gonna be doing blood in games next. I can think of a few winners off the top of my head already, so see you down there.
Drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see.